डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Welcome to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, Ahmedabad, Charodi. I am in front of you Dr. Ushma A. Bhatt, the Assistant Professor of English subject. Today we are going to discuss unit number 13 of first year BA, paper number 202, that is about Introduction to English Language and Literature. So let us discuss today's unit 13. The name of the unit is Phonology and Morphology, which are the two main parts of language study. Language and semantics, they are concerned in this unit number 13 of paper 202. Let's discuss. Unit number 13, the phonology and morphology. Look, as we had already discussed about the phonology and morphology, we are supposed to learn those two main parts of English language in detail with a deep down study and understanding of the phonology and morphology. Morphology and phonology, they are the integral parts of phonetics. Phonetics, as all of us know, that it is the science of language, how the language is articulated, what are the sound patterns, what are the syllables, how the word is created. Word is the creation of suffix, prefix and affixes. These are the things which are going to be studied under the main category of morphology. You can see that the morphology is the study of words, the grammatical inflection and word formation which undergo the new words. It is actually the formation of the new word. Morphology is nothing but, you can say, that understanding and creation of the words, the study of the words, the study of the formation of the words, that is known as morphology. The set of rules governing the words in a language, they are also concerned with morphology. There are basically two main parts which are known to create the grammar: classical Latin and Greek language. And due to these two languages, there is an understanding, there is a concept that English grammar comes out of the classical Latin and Greek language. Grammar is the integral part of language, and language is an autonomous thing. Language is a self-sufficient thing. Language is known to be the individual thing. As for example, I speak in Indian English language, but the person who stays in United States of America, he or she may be speaking with American accent. The person who lives in UK, in England, she might be speaking with British accents. So language is an autonomous part, language is an individual thing, and grammar is the integral part of language. As language differs, the grammar also differs. As language differs, the morphology also differs, and in the same way the phonology also differs. But we are over here in this particular topic, we are focusing much more on morphology rather than phonology, because morphology is the first part that you need to understand in a deep, in-depth understanding is necessary to understand the phonology. So phonology would be secondary and morphology comes in the first part, in the understanding of the grammar, in the understanding of the word, in the creation of the word. Morphology, words merged with each other becomes the semantic word. As for example, if I speak the word regular, and if you speak the word regularly, then again there is an adaptation, there is an addition of y, regularly, so that ly is an integral part of that word regular when it is used as regularly. Thus morphology is working over here in creation of the words. Let us study morphology with deep understanding. Look, word takes the inflection and thus it is changed because it is phonetically blurred. There is a saying that word takes the inflection. Inflection in the sense word takes S, ES, LY, D, ED, any kind of suffixes, prefixes or affix, they are known as inflection and thus it is changed because it is phonetically blurred. Because of certain phonetical uh, positioning or because of certain phonetical speech, phonetical pronunciation, sometimes the word changes. As for example, there are many words when you speak they are spoken in a different way. Certain lateral words, don't know, I don't know. When you speak don't know, then you know that don't know, I don't know actually, but you speak that I don't know, I want to do that. Want to do that is reflected as want to do that. Then these are the phonetical blurrings which could be considered or understood seriously when you are going to form the word and when you are going to study the theory of morphology. As for example, the word skip has many forms. Skip is a base word, it's a main form. Skipping, present progressive. Skipped, past tense. So again there are certain changes in pronunciation. The inflectional morphemes ing in skipping and skipped in ed in skipped, these are added to the main word skip to indicate the tense of the word. If a word has an inflectional morpheme, it is still the same word with a few suffixes added. So you do not change the meaning of the word skipping or you do not change the meaning of the word skipped. The meaning would be as it is. But due to certain inflectional additions in the word is changed in its morphological structure. This is known as morphological structure. Inflectional morpheme. Inflectional morpheme in the sense when the skip word is utilized with ing skipping or the skip word is utilized with ing skipped, then it is known as inflectional morpheme. Phonology, as you know, phonology is related with phonetics, phonology is related with phonemes, phonology is also related with phonemical transcriptions. So everything that comes under the umbrella term of phonology, it deals with the sound distinctions. Look, you know that phonology is an umbrella term where you can keep phonemes, phonetics, phonemic transcription, whatever that is that comes under the phonology. It is mostly regarding the sound and interpretation of sound or interpretation of pronunciations as well. It relates to particular language. Phonology, the functioning of sounds in particular context of words. Look, phonology is known as functioning of sound. As for example, you speak the word experience or if we speak the word serious, these are the functionings of the sounds in a particular context. Phonetics is concerned with sounds production. So whatever the pronunciation we do, whatever the speech we deliver, whatever the sounds that are coming while delivering the speech, sound comes while delivering the speech, they come under the category of phonetics. Phonology deals with the functional patterning of the sounds in the language. Phonology is genuinely concerned with the patterning of the sounds. As for example, if there is a phonemic transcription of potato or phonemic transcription of conversation or phonemic transcription of class, then these are known as the part of functional patterning of the phonology. Phonology, we can say basically, clearly I am telling you that if you are going to speak the word like regular, or the word like class, and the same word is represented or spoken by some other persons over there in their region, and that is pronounced differently. As for example, I give you the example of biscuit. You know that biscuit is spoken as biscuit somewhere, and in some of the Indian regions they pronounce biscuit. There is one another word also which I would like to speak over here. Clark, C-L-E-R-K, Clark. Clark is pronounced as Clark also, and sometimes Clark is pronounced as clerk somewhere. In the same way, alarm. Alarm is pronounced as alarm, and somewhere the people they pronounce alarm, alaram. So certain kinds of situational changes, certain kinds of differentiations in pronunciation of the words, that is because of the atmosphere, that is because of the environmental impressions the persons get while speaking the language, and that environmental impression is known as phonology. Basically, phonology deals with the functional patterning of the sounds in the language. Phonetics provides the raw material for the description of speech sound. Look, if you want to study speech sound, if you want to study the sound pattern, if you want to learn the phonemic transcription between the two bars, how the particular word is pronounced and what is the actual etymology of that word, then you need to learn phonetics. Phonology is the organization of sound patterns in the language due to the environmental factors. Look, as I told you previously, that the region, the dialect, the dialectic impression or the regional impressions, the influences of the places on the persons in their language is known as phonology basically. Phonetics is about production, process, and phonology is what? It is the arrow shows over here in this slide that phonology is the organization of sound patterns in the language due to the environmental factors. So basically, two things must be clear in your mind. It is about the phonology, it is about the phonetics, as well as it is the discussion about the morphology parallelly. Look, again we are discussing morphology and morphemes. Morphemes, as phonemes are in phonology, in the same way morphemes are in morphology. Morphology is what, as we discussed previously, it is about the study of words and their parts. Look, it is written over here. Morphology is the study of words and their parts. Word is studied in different kinds, in different parts, in different types as well. Look, as for example, morphemes like prefixes, suffixes, base words, they are defined as the smallest meaningful units of meaning. Look, morphemes are important for phonics in both reading and spelling, as well as in vocabulary and comprehension. Morphology is the level of linguistics which is concerned with the internal structure of words. A morpheme is the smallest unit which carries meaning. The phoneme is related to phonology in the same way a morpheme is related to morphology. As for example, if we speak the word impression, or if you speak the word irregular, then ir is taken as a prefix in the word and regular is a main word, and in the same way if you speak irregularly, then again ly would be kept as suffix, prefix and suffix, ir and ly, ir, ly and regular main word. So there are three things which you are going to learn in the word morpheme. You are going to understand these things. We are discussing these things with examples, so you do not need to worry. We can see the examples right now. In the next slide, let us see. Look, this is the chart. We can discuss the chart as well. But before that, I wish to discuss the examples. A bound morpheme only occurs as part of a word. S as in cats, ed as in crumbed, on as in unhappy, miss as in misfortune, or as in teacher. So you can see teach, fortune, happy, crumb and cat. These are the main words, base words. You need to learn that they are known as base words in this chapter of morphology and phonology. And the things, the suffixes and prefixes which are utilized to create the new word as cats or crumbed or unhappy or misfortune or teacher, they prove that, they show that they are the bound morphemes. So regarding morphemes, you need to remember these things. Look, in the example above, we had seen the words. These are the above examples. Now again, the unsystematically, this is the word which is taken over here as an example. Unsystematically, there is a root word system. System is the main word. Un is taken, al is taken, ly is taken unsystematically. System is the word. So systematic, atic, atic is also a suffix. Al is also a suffix. Ly is also a suffix, and the beginning part is utilized with u and un. So un is the prefix. Now combination of prefix and suffix created the new word which is known as unsystematically, and it becomes the bound morpheme. Bound morphemes in the sense 2-3 suffixes and prefixes, they are together, they are attached with the main word, with the base word, and that is why there is a creation of new word which is known as bound morpheme. If 2-3 morphemes are joined together, they create a compound word. Look, unsystematically is the compound word. These words are a great way to introduce morphology, the study of word parts into the classroom. These are the exercises which you are going to do in the classroom utilizing the bound morphemes. Now, after discussion about the examples, we need to see what was in the chart and what are the types of morphemes and free versus bound morphemes. Now look, morphemes can be either single words, free morphemes, or parts of words, bound morphemes. There are two kinds of things. Bound morphemes like unsystematically, irregularly. 2-3 words are gained together and they are created as one single word, as for example bound morphemes. A free morpheme can stand alone as its own word. Gentle, father, license, picture, gem, these are the single words which show that they are free morphemes. Afterwards we had taken the words with suffixes, then we had taken the unsystematically word in an example, and before that let us discuss the chart of morphemes. Types of morphemes: morpheme free and bound. Now I think you are clear about free morpheme and bound morpheme because we had already learned the examples. First we learned the example and then we have switched to the chart. Why? Because you must be clear about the examples. Bound morphemes are having two kinds of categories over here. You can see that it is exactly behind myself. Derivational and inflectional morphemes. And apart from this derivational and inflectional morphemes, here you can see free morphemes as lexical morpheme and functional morphemes. Functional morphemes are those free words which are taken generally as a free word, like we had seen previously in the slide 2 or slide number 3, that there is a functional word, functional morpheme, the word which is used only for the sake of understanding of that particular word. Skip, then there were two words, skipping and skipped. So that was the best example to understand the functional free morpheme. Now about lexical free morpheme, for this particular category, morpheme, free and lexical, here I tell you to understand the whole unit of lexical semantics and lexical words. Lexical words are the combination of 2-3 words together, as for example, the water incubator, or the word power, or the combination of two words together, tablecloth. These are the welcome, tablecloth. These are the combinations of 2-3 words together. So for that purpose I tell you to go through the lexical semantics chapter. It may be the chapter number, unit number 15, 16, or maybe unit between 1 to 10. So you have to refer that unit of lexical semantics clearly. You must see that video of lexical semantics and lexicography even, that also I had taught you in the previous videos, and afterwards you can understand this lexical morphemes. Now let's discuss about bound derivational and bound inflectional morphemes. Now as I told you, inflectional morphemes are those which are the examples of prefixes, suffixes and affixes together, as for example unsystematically, or the word irregular or irregularly. These are the examples of inflectional bound morphemes. Now a derivational bound morphemes, these are coming under the different category of derivational bound morpheme, which is not right now in your the syllabus of types of morphemes. Still you need to understand that they are distinctive kind of morphemes which you are going to learn in the upcoming session, and we are going to discuss this derivational morphemes clearly in the next session as well. Now as I told you, free and bound morphemes were already discussed in the examples. Then we had taken the bound morphemes example. Then we learnt about unsystematically word and the compilation of all these bound morphemes, and there was a creation of new bound morpheme word which is known as unsystematically. That is merely an example. You can put many other words also, as for example unindependent, or independently, or uninformative, or unimportant, or unimportantly, interestingly, uninterestingly. These could be the examples that you can mention in your answers. Morphemes clearly. Normally the morphemes are transcribed in curly brackets. Look, there is a system to write the morpheme. You can't write the morpheme in your examination in an answer sheet without showing it with a different kinds of bracket, curly brackets. These brackets, they show that, they mark that, they indicate that these are the words which are utilized under the category of morphemes. That's why you need to utilize curly brackets. For instance, in English there is a plural morpheme. It comes under the curly bracket known as s or es. S and es are actually suffixes. As for example, bicycle, but bicycles, there is es. Apple, but you can say apples. So plural is always indicated with s or es, but what is that plural morpheme, that you do not know. Again I tell you that plural words also come under the category of morphemes. Morpheme is a word which shows that it is very difficult, but actually morphology, morpheme and understanding of morphemes, that is very easy. It is merely about bound morphemes. It is merely about inflectional words, nothing more than inflectional words. That's merely very much easy in compared to the word shows itself a difficult one. Morpheme, when you use the word morpheme and when you think about morphology, what is that? You might be worried too much, but it is very easy actually. It is merely about inflectional words. Now look, there is one another word, allomorphs. It may come under the multiple choice based question also. Allomorphs, which are non-distinctive realizations of a morpheme. Look, what is non-distinctive realization? Non-distinctive in the sense it is not changed or it is not taken under the another category, but it is merely a word which comes under the same category of morpheme. Just as allophones are non-distinctive realizations of phonemes, in the same way allomorphs, they are the features of morphology of all languages. So allomorphs come under almost all the categories of morphology, and they are generally taken as without any categorization, without any distinctiveness. They are as similar as bound morphemes. Inflectional morphology. Look, now inflectional morphology is the base of morpheme. As I told you, if you understand morphology first, then you understand morphemes first, and then everything comes under the big umbrella term which is known as inflectional morphology. Why I had taken this topic at last? Because I wish to explain you that morphology is the main part, morphemes are the integral part, inflectional morphemes come under the integral category. Then there are two main categories, free morphemes and bound morphemes. Afterwards, in free morphemes and bound morphemes, again there are two different kinds of categories, derivational morphemes and the morphemes that you learn, bound morphemes. In the same way, in free morphemes, you are supposed to learn two kinds of free morphemes which come under the category of morphemes. So all these things, they are learnt gradually, and then finally here comes the topic of inflectional morphology. Various conjugational forms of verbs are the instances of inflectional morphology. Look, conjugational forms of verbs in the sense the verbs which are connected together, which are taken together, and they create the new verb that is known as conjugational verb. As for example, walk, walks, walking, walked. These are all forms of the main verb walk with an additional inflectional morpheme. If you put the verb talk, but if you put the same verb talk with the word talking, speak with the word speaking, turn with the word turning, ing. So these are the inflectional morphemes which are taken in the verb, and that is why they are known as conjugational forms of verb. Conjugation in the sense attaching the word with prefixes or suffixes. Inflections attached in the beginning is known as prefixes, and inflections attached in the end of the word is known as suffix. Now infix, the inflection somewhere in the middle of the word is known as affix. As for example, word stand changes when it becomes in the past as stood, or word come changes when it becomes as came, or in sing as sang, or in ring as rang. So these are known as a article that comes in the middle part, and that is why they are known as affix. So affix generally comes in the middle part of the word. Now finally you are going to learn the derivational morphology. Class maintaining, class changing, these are the words. Example, as for example, words like super and thin. In the case of brainy, the noun base has an ending suffixed to it to yield an adjective. As for example, womanly, sheepish, pinkish, Spanish. Class maintaining, that is also the example of class changing, class maintaining. In the same way, you can utilize some other words like supernova, super thin, superpower, super intelligence, super duper. What is all this? They are merely the combinations of two words together, and that is why it is known that two words together suffixed. In the case of brainy, the noun base has an ending suffix to it to yield an adjective. So merely the word which is the creation of two words together, they are also the part of derivational morphology. Spanish is also the example of derivational morphology. Japanese is also the example of derivational morphology. Indian English is also the example of derivational morphology. Thank you. Good luck all.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तप